Hello, hello. Perfect. All right, welcome to the Lucky Flow Show. Today we have Summer 101, small crowd today, which is actually good as you find that because the point of summer is to be outside. So the irony is, great. So if you're taking the class, probably means you should be outside. All right, so quick introduction about myself. I've been practicing acupuncture for over 10 years. In my lineage, there's over 300 years. Acupuncture has always been practiced from master to apprentice, one-to-one. It was never a streamlined school system till recently. Our method is called the balance method, and I am the apprentice for the balance method. It was popularized by Dr. Tan, who then passed on to Dr. Han, and I'm Dr. Han's apprentice, and I was the co-author for her first two books, which have been translated to English, obviously English, Chinese, and French. And this is the #1 rated acupuncture clinic in Michigan based on review and patient volume. And I am a loud sneezer.
Is that significant?
That's a pun.
Okay.
But that's just something about me. I sneeze loudly. Every time I sneeze, my hair grows a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so this is our mission here, is to help people declare health independence. We believe that.
By providing superior acupuncture,
Right.
medical supplements, and education, we can help our patients declare physical and emotional health independence from pharmaceutical drugs, unhealthy habits, and relationships. We help our patients achieve wellness from within the body and transform outward to achieve their mission, purpose, and life.
All right.
You guys have a great night.
And that's my manager. Great. Yep. So, although I'm Chinese, I consider myself American. I have been living here since I was 13. I came here as a kid. And I know with the tension in the world going on right now, there's a lot going on. But I deeply believe that if everybody gets acupuncture all at once, there'd be a golden age the next day. So then we talk about, pursuit of happiness and happiness 101. What is my definition of pursuit of happiness? So according to Webster Dictionary, happiness is an emotional state characterized by feelings of joy, satisfaction, contentment, fulfillment, while happiness have different definitions, is also described as positive emotions and life satisfaction. So, who wants to learn more about the secrets of happiness? All right, next page. Okay, so secret of happiness is to master the yin and the yang. So I'm assuming you've seen this symbol before.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to dive into it a little bit, okay? Everybody knows the yin is kind of the quiet, right? Passive, and some would say feminine. Okay, and the yang is loud, outside, outdoors, moving, masculine. And then, right, the sun is considered yang. So in the summer season, we're talking about a more yang type of behavior. And I can already hear a question that you're asking while you're watching this on YouTube. You may think that, okay, so who gives the definition of yang being summer? Why is it yang, right, winter? What is the definition? Well, we're going to talk about that the next page. But right now, let me just ask, right? What do you think? Which one do you like better? Which one's more important? Is yang better or is yin better? What's you and Chris? Which one do you like better?
Well, young.
Yang? Why is that?
It's got the Western values of being strong, advancing, active, awake, loud.
Gotcha.
I personally, I like the yin as well, but probably overall, I like yang more.
More yang are. Yeah. All right. So that's self-preference. We live in a free country, so different people tend to choose different things. And as we dive into it more, in our future talks, we'll find that some people are naturally more yin and some people are naturally more yang. So it's better to have a healthy balance. Now, what is balance? Before that, let's go over this. This is my little anecdote, okay? Now, the first picture, we're talking about this day here. Now, is that a nice day?
Looks like it. Yeah.
Looks like a nice day, okay. And what about these sticks? Are these look like they're pretty long sticks?
Yeah. Sure.
So here's the question, the riddle. How do you make this day better without changing anything to the day? And how do you make these sticks shorter without changing anything to the sticks? That means you can't touch it. So for that day, you can't use some machine to exterminate all the clouds and make it rain. You can't any way physically alter it. How do you make a nicer day and how do you make a longer stick? Or a shorter stick, should I say.
I don't know. I cancel my plans for the nice day and sweat it outside and cut the sticks.
Yep. So that is correct, is one answer, but you know, you have to be reminded that you can't touch it.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. So the correct answer is, the hint is context and contrast. So this is a better day, you know, who's asking? So if we're having a gentleman, let's say if they're from Finland or North Pole, this will be like the best day ever, right? Depends on what you're comparing it to. If I put a cloudy day right next to it, in contrast, that's going to be a good day. But if I put a day where it's summer, beach, beautiful girls, margarita, then in that contrast, oh, there's clouds, so that would be a bad day, or not as nice. Oh, the sticks too. All you need to do is make the stick short and put a longer stick next to it. So it's in my opinion that context and contrast is what provides insight. And insight is how we gauge the accuracy of how things are falling into place. So back into what I said about the last slide is the yin and the yang. We're really looking at the, right, so which one is more yang comparing to the winter? So then the follow-up question is, what if you have a place there is no winter, like in Africa or somewhere nearby the equator? In that case is that there is still winter, except winter may not snow, but in contrast to July, it's going to be more yin than the yang. And the locals that live there more likely are more active when it's warmer than it's colder. So this universally applies. I dare to say, even if we go to Mars, when Elon Musk does his thing, there will still be a yin and yang there. So now the next one is we further breaking down the yin and the yang into 12 or 24 micro segments we call chi nodes. Now, who thinks that the weather changes more than 4 times a year?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, right? Especially in Michigan, where I'm from. Yeah. So the ancients have figured out that the season actually changes in 24 micro seasons. Okay, so I'm going to list them out right here. If you'd like to read and review more of this, I'll have a copy of the handout, and for those of you at home, you can pause it and kind of read. So, how are these seasons, who came up with these seasons? So, this is actually the almanac calendar. And if you find that, it'll be interesting, George Washington actually had an almanac calendar. He was part of something. This is kind of lost in the modern day because we moved to industrialized farming. But for the longest time, humans have farmed, right? What time to do what things is very important. So for example, everybody knows you should plant in the spring, right? In Michigan, so you plant a little bit towards the summer, but still, right? You can't expect to grow crops planting in autumn, right? So with that said, What do you think about people? If different seasons have different times of initiation in planting a seed, would you think that'll affect people differently depending on what time they're born? So I'll leave that question to you. You could do some more research. But from the background of Chinese medicine is that how each person differ from one another is that they have a different life experience based on the first breath they draw into the universe. Based on their life experience and their sequence, they experience life differently. Therefore, their organs and energies develop different. So if you look at, this is the summertime, we're talking about the pink and the red, okay? And summertime is kind of over here. So if you have a hard time with this, let me ask you this. Would someone that live in what the Eskimos or people who live in Serbia, which is cold all the time, have a different personality than someone who lives in the island?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, right? So people in the more northern, where the environments are less forgiving, it's less room to make mistakes. And people who live in the island, maybe they like to enjoy life more because there's crops essentially growing all season. So are people. Some people tend to be more summery. They tend to be happier, joyful, right? And some people tend to be more wintry, which is more closed, more introspective, more planning, strategic strategy. So even with different ethnicities, within each ethnicity, there are different types of people. So we tend to think of people by what season they are, right? And that leads into the 5 elements that we talk about. In this case, we talk about summer being the fire season, the fire element. And different seasons are linked to different organs, which we'll also talk about a little bit later in this seminar. This image here is just, I flipped it to this corner because this is matching this one to the left, okay? All the English here is the translation of the Chinese here. How does this picture come about, this yin and yang? Actually, back in the day, how people track of time is by sundial. Who doesn't know what a sundial is? Right? So sundial, for those of you who don't know, is one pointy needle that could be a rod, depends on how big it is, and depends on where the sun is, how much shadow is casting is how people know what season it is and what time it is. Now, this is before your iPhones and Apple Watches, for those of you who are younger. So, as you can see, people have realized back in the day, without technology, modern technology, that the time is, the least amount of shadow is summer solstice. And the times with the most amount of shadow, which means when the needle that casts the shadow is the longest, is the winter solstice. That means the days are shorter, right? You could think about it is how where the sun is casting. So if there's no shadow, that means the sun is right on top of you. Is longer shadow, that means the sun is more towards the further away from you, more in the northern hemisphere. Do you have any questions, Chris? You?
Maybe I'll ask, I'm not sure, I have questions about the photo, but I think you're explaining it, so I'll ask at the end if I'm not caught up.
Okay, great. So, depends on, so in the summer season, we're talking about the summer, this is where we are. Today is May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. This is actually coincidentally in the farmer's calendar, the first day of official summer. So then we're transitioning from summer all the way to summer solstice, and then boom, here is the beginning of autumn. Okay, where you can see that the white area is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
What's the white area?
is the yang.
Okay.
Also, how much sunlight that is on the in the universe or in your surrounding area. The theory is also, as much as there's light outside, there should be also light inside. So you think about, what do people do when it's outside? They barbecue, they hang out with family, they fly kites, they go for a hike, right? So when it's a lot of yang in the universe, we want that to match what is inside. So if somebody, instead of going outside when the yang or the white energy, the yang energy, they stay in and they turn on the AC and then they, I don't know, watch Netflix during the day, right? So that's not a normal behavior. There's no right or wrong behavior. There is only efficient and inefficient behaviors. It is more efficient to the human body to operate according to nature because it's very easy. It's almost like sailing or surfing. You sail with the wind. If you sail against the wind, then you're going to have an engine, you have a motor, then you have to burn oil, right? So think of it that way. Fire is the most young element. Okay, sunlight, noon being the yang energy, being the peak of the day. This is another concept, is that there are 4 seasons in the year. There's also 4 seasons in the day too. So picture in the morning is kind of like springtime, right? In the noon, when it's really hot, it's kind of like noontime. In the autumn, dinner time, night, twilight, winter time. So 4 seasons is the aspect and phases that exist within each day, within each year, also within cycles every 60 years. So how do we live well in the summertime? Okay. So summer is obviously where plants are fully blooming. So in order for us to live in accordance to our habits, I also want to challenge those of you that are listening to live according to its behavior and its abstractly what it represents. So in the summertime, if you are a little introverted, it's recommended that you're a little bit more extroverted than you were before. And you find that in the summertime it's easier to do so because you're using the natural energy and rhythm to carry you to be more out there, because the whole world is like that, including birds, bees, bears, snakes. Everybody's going out there, so it's very easy for you to do that. So then I ask, how summer are you? Next. This we kind of talked about in the last slide, is that, as you can see, each season transforms into the next one. And we all recognize this symbol is recycling, right? So the idea is that if we can achieve efficiency in the body, right, also achieving efficiency in the way we live, we can live for longer. Okay. So now let's talk about 5 elements. So this is a brief overview of 5 elements, is that which hour of the day, what energy channel in your body is the most active. And this actually coincides to the circadian rhythm, which is invented by 1729 by Dr. Sean here. And you can see that things kind of match, right? You can see stomach and spleen here is where 8, 9, 10 a.m. where there's, your heart's going, you're hungry. At noon is where you're at your peak performance, okay? And then small intestine over here. And then when your body gets hot is where the kidney is starting to move into pericardium. This is actually where people are the most wanting to engage in sexual activities, actually, according.
Pericardium?
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Pericardium
Mine is.
is the film wrapped around the heart. It is an organ that is classified in Chinese medicine and an energy channel. Yep, actually, we're going to talk about that later. It's called the King's Guard. The heart is the king. And then over here is sleeping, deep sleep, and then your body temperature at a minimum, right? And then moving right around again. Now, some of you looking at this might be thinking, okay, well, what if I get a crash right at 11 a.m. at noon? I feel tired. At nighttime, I wake up at night like 3 times a night, and I'm a night owl. Yeah, okay, well, your body's circadian rhythm is off. Also, your meridian channels' energies are off too. So slowly we can see that science is doing more research on the human body, which does not contradict with anything that's been found before. So how does 5 elements interact with each other? So this is we group things by categories. This is the summer season. This is heart. So you say, okay, in the summer, what is a good thing to do, right? I would say laughing. That's a very summer thing to do. If you are feeling joy, okay? Traveling south. A lot of people in the summertime like to travel, and then they go somewhere warm. So these are all aspects that relates to the summer. I like to say this as this is the summer clique. These are little friends. So there's heat, there's laughing, there's red, there's tongue. All these people, they love summer, and they're friends. And over here we have different organs, anger and green and sour. These guys are friends with each other. So as you can see that there is no independent thing in the view of Chinese medicine or acupuncture, that everything is kind of related. This is why when patients come in and they say, okay, well, I have neck tension, and I have blurry vision, and then I have anger. Sometimes I get angry, right? Boom, I already know. You wake up at the gallbladder time, which is 1 to 3 a.m. And patients will be very surprised. Wow, there's no way you know that, right? Or somebody says, okay, you know what, I'm deeply depressed, which then they're talking about, right? Deeply depressed, I have fear, right? So this is very watery. Then I already know, right, this person probably also have ear ringing, because this is all connected. And since this is lucky flow, I can almost 95% conclude that this person, the first person that says they have eye issues, tendon, anger, this person doesn't like spring. In fact, this person hates the spring. Likewise, if someone is fearful, always scared, have nightmares, this person hates winter. So, as you can see that if you hate a season and you go out and do things in the season, well, even if you do well, you're going to think like I have bad luck, right? Because at the end of the day is how you perceive the event that happens to you. If something happens to you, that could be a blessing in disguise, but it's what you choose to see that determines what you feel like is good or bad luck. So it is in the culture to kind of give people, have people feel good, do good, and experience life positively. So this is where the whole health, holistic approach comes from.
I have a question about that.
Yes, Chris.
So, I'm not sure, I'm trying to formulate the question exactly, but it's something along the lines of that these, I'm looking at especially the emotional qualities, anger, fear, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, you can expect that in different seasons that these emotions would be more prevalent. That's part of it. Okay.
Great question.
So the point is not to avoid them, it's actually to experience them with the understanding that that's a natural, you're taking part in sort of a natural cycle.
Yup. So there's a two-part question you're asking. So what you're asking is right, is that starting today, and today, for the next 72 days, there's going to be people that come in for heart palpitations. I already know that. So that's just how it is because it's summertime. And heart palpitations is a fire access symptom. Okay? So then, with that, it comes insomnia, right? It also comes with joy, but overjoy turns into hysteria. So a lot of people, they restless legs, they can't stop. That's also an issue. Sometimes people can't quiet down. Also, people don't like to go home. Like, okay, I don't want to go home at all, right? That's also kind of an issue, is that so much as there's a free choice, is that they're averse to the idea of going home. They don't like to sleep. It's not that you can't. Oh, okay, I'd rather do something rather than going to sleep. Sleep is a waste of time. So all these thinking contributes to more heart, more fire. So this person most likely is a very fiery person. Now this person is in fire again, so they have a lot of fire. Make sense?
Yeah.
So then when they come in, we sedate the fire.
Okay.
And some of you looking at this is like, okay, well, I'd rather have joy than anger, than fear, than grief. Yucky. I don't want to overthink. Why can't I just have joy all the time? Also no good, because we know life is contrast, right? So if you have a stick, how to make a stick shorter, you put a longer stick next to it. If you are in the summertime, all you have is joy the whole summertime, guess what? You're going to be depressed the other 4 seasons. Like we said, context and contrast. So the idea isn't to have joy or not have joy, or joy is good or joy is bad, is actually a more balance of all emotions. And just a quick note on the kidney here, water season, is that in the winter time, people say, okay, I'm getting the blues in the winter. Maybe you're supposed to. I know this is a little bold statement here, but in the winter time, it is very modern to think that you should be young, you should be joyful, you should be happy all the time. But the reality is, hey, you know what? In the wintertime, it is a time to recollect and reflect. So, and then you may find that once you have that, your summer is better. Just like in Michigan, as I'm doing this, the past 2 weeks, we had really cold weather leading up to May. And today is really nice. So you can learn to appreciate nicer weather better.
Yeah.
Make sense?
I like it. I'm thinking about in my work in psychology, and people do want to feel happy all the time, and it is one of my goals to help my clients feel happy, of course, but the problem is when people try and sustain their happiness further than it actually can go, and what they end up doing is they're repressing other natural and important emotions and thoughts that are coming up. So then they're expending a lot of energy holding those things back. So many bad things can happen as a result of that. You're not aware of what you're feeling. Those things can become somaticized. They start to enter your body and cause, you could say sickness there. And the happiness has a naive, ignorant quality to it. It's very paper thin, and it's not true happiness or joy.
Wow. Yeah, thank you so much for that. For those of you that heard that, this is Chris. He's a psychiatrist, right? Psychologist extraordinaire. We're going to do a podcast soon. I'm looking forward to it. I also want to learn more about psychology. Okay, so different energy channels, different hours of the day translates into different energy channels of the body. Okay, so with heart, it's right here. a lot of people that come in, right, what I just said is that starting May 5th is when people come in for kind of heart issues. Also, golfer's elbow or elbow pain or tennis elbow or tendonitis tend to be on this underside. And if you're hurting here, especially for patients that's gone to the doctor, taken x-rays, MRIs, they can't find anything wrong with them, most likely is the energy blockage. And if you're hurting in this area that's highlighted, which is the heart, that means it is a heart issue, which is directly related to an impact related to the fire element. It is either your heart or you experienced some kind of impact when you're having joy, or whatever trauma you've had is linked to the summer season. So today we're focusing on the heart and the small intestine, these two organs. And as you can see that Chris was asking earlier, the pericardium and triple burner, these are also considered fire. So these are also down here. But when we talk about the main fire, we're just talking about the heart and the small intestine. So just a quick note, right? The pericardium is a person's relationship with sex, self-love, and protection, like how safe they feel. And then, right, so I'll let you read the rest. Next, let's dive into the heart channel. Okay, the heart channel starts with the tip of the fingers, works its way up, right? Actually starts with one, and then works down the fingertip. And then this small intestine channel starts with the pinky finger as well, going up on the posterior side. All right, exciting, heart channel. So aside from the actual heart organ, which we know it pumps blood throughout the body, what else is there? After all, your body is just a bag with chemical in it, right? What else is there to humans? Now, that's what AI would say in the future. But actually, heart has to do with your creativity, intuition, and motion. I think I meant to write emotion there. But a heart is really a heart's mind, okay? And for a picture, when a picture is like a campfire. Responsible for the blood, tongue, throat, sweat, facial complexion, adrenals, thyroid, prostate, pituitary gland. It's the house of intuition. Okay, what do you mean by that? All right, this one, just quickly kind of see here. This is their heart channel out here, and then also the heart channel's internal trajectories. Okay, so then it's linked to the eyes, what you see coming down here, and it goes through the small intestines, and then comes out here. So this is why sometimes patients come in, it's like, oh, I have pain in this region here. And then when they're pointing, it's the small intestine. And I would then put a needle on their arm because this is treating the heart channel in relationship within there. And that's similar to, let's say patients have a headache or sinus issues, right? And then that'll be linked to the gallbladder, the stomach, and the large intestine. Then I'll put a needle on different areas that's linked to it. And we know it works because if you put the needles in the right place, you'll work immediately. So then I ask, okay, you have pain on this heart channel. Did it start on May 5th? And that's a question that also have patients think I'm a psychic. That's my side hustle as a psychic. So let's talk about intuition. So heart's function is a long-term memory, thinking, emotions, intimacy, cognition, intelligence, ideas, all dominant function of the heart. Heart is also called the emperor or the king because it's the most important organ that houses the shin, which the translation in English is intuition. There's also other translations as God or spirit, right? The heart is not just a pumping machine, it's the intelligence system. It's the most intelligent system of all our brains. It has own receptors, its own electromagnetic force. So, who here knows someone that's older, perhaps in your own family, that they can remember what happened back in the 1930s exactly in detail, but they can't remember what they ate for breakfast? Right? We all know someone like that. In fact, my grandma was like that. She could recall what happened with me, what happened with so-and-so in the family. Typically, that event is linked to a emotional feeling, so that the heart remembers. Now, talking about short-term memory, people who are good at taking exams, they have good kidney functions. So kidney, we're not talking about it here, is in charge of short-term functions. This is why when patients, let's say they take Adderall, which stimulates the adrenals in the kidney, so that actually stimulates the kidneys for short-term memory. But as far as long-term memory is the heart. Someone has a good memory is as if, let's say if you meet someone for very briefly, it could be you went somewhere on vacation, but this person is so memorable. The next time you go down there, it could be 5 years. You could say, you can't remember their name, but you can recall, you know what, I remember you. That was a day where the sun was shining, and there was a person pushing this little cart, and we did this and that, and this is what you did, but I can't remember your name. This is what the heart is remembering, is that. This is why the heart controls the emotions and intuitions. And the idea is that when a person passes and ceases to be, their shin or their intuition lives on. So your intuition, some people that are into quantum physics or different arts that's intangible may say that, your intuition is what you inherit from your last lifetime, is how you intuitively feel, is that your physical memory and recollection cease to be, but your intuition carries on. So if you see somebody, you already have a feeling, I don't like this person. Maybe, right, you did that for a reason. Maybe it was another time that another person had a similar experience that you had here, and you kind of feel like that wasn't right. Or if you haven't had that experience, maybe you have it in your last lifetime. So this is how this whole theory of the Eastern philosophy of reincarnation and how you feel comes about. Let's say if you are not really into reincarnation, let's say you believe that, this is just once. We talk about DNA and the DNA and genetics. You inherit your memory from your parents. So if your parents had an unsatisfactory experience with another behavior, you may be very opposed to that. In fact, there is actually a study done with mice, I recall, is that the mother, while pregnant with the babies, had smelled cherry. And right before that, right, she watched her friend got zapped to death. Or something cruel. Scientists always do that. And then the mother gave birth to the babies, and then the babies never exposed to this cherry smell. The baby smelled the cherries shaken, scared as heck. Yep. So we know that, so this is like intuition, is this feeling. And that is being held into the heart. So a broken heart. Now this is more than just a relationship. A lot of people with the love songs, they think broken heart is just like a heartbreak. This is more like a bad experience in my understanding. If you had trusted somebody to perform a medical procedure, you really trust the surgeon, And let's say if he did a bad job, either intentional or unintentional, that breach trust, you will still feel like this is a heartbreak. And that then would kickstart your intuition to not do that again, right? So, and a broken heart then is what we categorize as have a bad night of sleep. So if your intuition's been impacted, that shakes your trust and your reality in the world. If you think about it logically, it is going to affect your sleep. You're going to keep thinking. You can keep thinking, okay, let me make sense of this before I sleep. You can't make sense of it, so you can't sleep, right? So, and also excessive dreaming. A lot of patients, we look at the tongue, I already figured out something wrong with the heart. I said, okay, you have vivid dreams. Patient, whoa, what's going on? You're psychic. It's my side hustle. So then, right, what's a positive emotional attribute is, right, love, joy, peace, contentment, insight, wisdom, orderliness, forgiveness, courtesy, right? So we all know someone that sleeps really good, right? They hit the sack, boom, 5 minutes, they're out. Or maybe just they hit the sack, right away. So really good heart, that person. So when we say good heart here, we mean, right, very strong intuition. That his intuition have not been impacted. This person has not had a lot of broken heart. Either they're very strong and resilient, or, right, yeah. So it's usually the heart leading the brain. Your intuition leads to decisions, because intuition sets the expectation, the pre-assumptions, which then the brain follows. So when we say heart is your mind, before we discovered brain, it's always been, okay, so what's in your heart, right? People think that the brain is actually in the heart. But as you can see here, if the brain follows what the heart says, it might as well be the heart is the brain. So the heart is kind of like the neck that turns the head to see what decisions I like to make, right? Because you can use something for different uses. This is a little long. Would you like to read, Chris?
Sure. The whole thing? Just the first paragraph?
Yeah, first paragraph. I'll read the second.
Okay.
Go ahead.
From the first beats of the heart will determine our identity. The amygdala starts forming immediately after the heart's first beat. It stores all the memories of our life in the womb, with the placenta, the water, the fluids of life, and the terror of losing them, and also the joy of being fed, of bouncing, of moving. But the amygdala stores also the life of the mother, her depressions, her fears, her life. And this accumulation of memories goes on in us until the age of 3, which means that all the time that we have lived, our life has been recorded for us in the amygdala. After the age of 3, the hippocampus matures, it stores conscious memories and access of them. As the hippocampus gets stronger, we lose access to the memories and the life we lived in the amygdala of the previous 3 years.
Yep. So in the East, when people actually, just really quick, in the Eastern philosophy, we talk about reincarnation, is that one could live their whole life in the womb, because life is a subjective experience. So the idea is that when you are born, you choose your parents, you choose your mother. So your choice is based on your preference, which is based on your intuition. So when you choose the mother, and let's say if the mother is going through, I don't know, modern women goes through so much. This is why fertility, in acupuncture during fertility is so important, is that if they're worried about if they get a raise, if they're going to keep their job, also keep the household clean, dealing with the relationships with the family, friends, organizing birthday parties, get-togethers, and then all these things. And a lot of times, if men can contribute or help, right? Women have a lot in their plate. This is why, in my opinion, there's a raise of autistic in culture, because humans didn't used to have such a high rate of autism. And also other birth defects are because of that. Okay. So, go ahead, Chris.
Can you say a little more about the autism connection? It's the strain on the mother, and then something that gets passed down to the children is more chaotic, disorganized.
Yeah. So the disclaimer here, I'm not a psychologist, nor do I have the degree, right, or credential. This is my view. And my understanding is that autistic, we do acupuncture for them too, is a person feeling very isolation. And if you think that they're born that way, so it's likely that their intuition is naturally tend to be that way, right? And then also, if, imagine that, right, over here I have, so the small heart is your development as a baby, and then over here you're developing, right? So this is a very healthy pregnancy. But if from the get-go you're a small heart plant, you're in this kind of setup, right? And then you're going to be developing into something that looks like a heart, but maybe not. All right, it's very abstract. So if you're experiencing stress since you're a fetus, your life experience is going to be different when you say hello finally to the world.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. To me, that's a kind of common sense. I mean, they can spend a couple $1 million on this and research it, but I mean, this is, because you're a part of your mother. So, so are we all once upon a time. So yeah, if somebody, we said that the heart is the intuition. So let's say if someone had a privileged life and you had peace and your mother was not overly stressed, you turn out to be a normal human being. But if someone is growing up in a, let's say, a bad area, bad neighborhood, and their mother not feel safe, and plus maybe drug use, then they'll kind of not born the same. Okay, let's move on to small intestine. Okay, small intestine channel starting the pinky. I kind of let you read that. You can pause it if you like. So the small intestine starts actually in June 21st, which is the 24 seasons, the 24 chi nodes. This would be 3 chi nodes later. Okay. So, or the next, the 2 chi nodes later, sorry. Small intestine is mental clarity and judgment. Okay, this is very interesting for a psychologist, I would think. Okay, I'm excited. So, what is the small intestine's function? Is to absorb nutrients, digest, and then eliminate. Okay? It is known as the minister of reception. Small intestine receives partially digested food from the stomach, further refines it, separating the pure from the impure, then assimilating the purified nutrients, moving the impure to waste into the large intestine for elimination. The small intestine is strong and healthy. It will work with the heart to control the basic emotions of joy and sadness. It is the energy meridian runs to the head, whereas the influence functions of pituitary gland, master gland, those secretes regular growth, metabolism, immunity, sexuality, entire endocrine system. Okay. Who knows somebody where you tell him a story, him or her, and they give you feedback, it's not the takeaway that you're looking, that's intended for that story. Right? It's very hard. So you tell the story, the goal is to be more valiant or brave, but all they took away was, oh, later on that person tripped himself, so I shouldn't trip myself, right? So we talk about energy, how your body physically receives food that goes down to digest in your small intestine, which that process is to absorb the nutrients, right, the essence from the food, is the same as if you receive a message or a story. What you take away from the story, how you take away the essence of the story, how you distinguish that is the same with how you distinguish it in your gut. So this is also that, right, we have this modern disease called the leaky gut. Kids, especially with leaky gut, has a hard time learning for that reason. It's not that they're not learning sometimes, is that some of these kids may be right into something else. Maybe they're really good at, I don't know, maybe they're good at skipping classes or doodling while the class is going, but it's hard for them to take away of what that's being said. So that's the small intestine.
Is this something you might look at if someone comes in with complaints of like ADHD?
You know, I haven't thought about that. I know that ADHD is also kidney related as well. But yeah, that's interesting. So in the podcast, we might be talking about some of that. So okay, it'll be an interesting conversation to have. Yeah. So then, right, when I look at patient's tongue, if the tongue is very pale, it's very likely that the small intestine isn't functioning properly. And these patients are likely that they're taking a bunch of supplements. So then the next question is the patients ask me, okay, is taking supplements good? Well, my answer would be this. It's good for some people. It's definitely good if your small intestine is not working right. Because let's say if you eat an apple, you're supposed to absorb the antioxidant from the apple, but all you absorbed from it was sugar. That has to do with the small intestine. Let's say if I tell you a story, but all you heard was that, oh, what you said was offensive, right? You didn't actually hear the other part of it. So then it's the same as you didn't absorb the apple for the nutrients and the vitamins, you instead just absorb the sugar. So in that way, right, is that once we strengthen our own body, we also strengthen our cognitive functions as well. Okay, so the small intestine, or the heart is a campfire, as the small intestine is the sun. Why is the small intestine fire? Is that back in the day when they did cadavers, when they cut, so in Chinese medicine, we do cadavers on people who are alive instead of dead. In the modern world, people are more kind, so they put you down first and then cut you open to look. But in ancient China, there are people that commit heinous crimes about massacre, different bandits, this and that, looting, raping. So they would just have a doctor cut them alive while giving them acupuncture to see what moves while they're alive. And it is said that when you cut a small intestine open, the small intestine is red and it's hot when you touch it. So that's why it's the sun. And the visual here is this, right? This is what? Over here, this is kind of like an introverted person, right? So this person is probably good with one-on-one. Okay, we light a little match in a small room. We talk, kind of heart to heart. This is kind of like a party, right? Like, we get like 2 dozen people. We get together, drink some beer, listen to some music. Okay? Well, what is this? This is like, I came in like a rag and yeah, this is like big time celebrity, right? That's so which one's good or bad? I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to start a revolution, you want to be like that. If you want to be kind of like, okay, I want to live a quiet life, then it's that. So there's no good or bad, but what is efficient is kind of this, right? You're not too dim, which is a fear of being blown out. You're not like that because you're going to burn the whole town down. Also, sunshine. How much sunshine do you need? Do you want? So people will take a whole bunch of small intestine is overworking what? To dry up all the earth, right? And the earth element is the digestion. So what? This looks like constipation to me, doesn't it? Also over here, this is let's say this is Finland or Netherlands. The sun is all the way over there. What are you going to get? It's going to be really cold, right? Really cold, maybe damp, frozen. So this is like indigestion and also like loose stools. So this is it best, right? You get a little California sunshine right here. So what is good? So there's so bitter taste is related to fire. Later on, we'll have a slide. I'll also attach it to this video of what food and what flavor is associated with fire. Right here. So fire, we have, right, chili pepper, if you eat that, really hot. Beet is not hot, is not warm, as in is burning your hand, but that contributes to more fire in your heart. Okay? So then the question patients I was asking me is, oh yeah, I love beets. I love beets. I always have beets. I love beet juice. I love beet in my salad. And then they come in for a heart palpitation. So it's kind of like, okay, well, it's good, but maybe it's not good for you. Right? So, but in what case do one need fire? Pop quiz, Chris. What would make someone that could need more fire?
Like a weak heart?
Yeah. Maybe someone with a weak heart or someone who's more quiet, shy, right? They eat beet, increase the fire in the body, increase the heart and the small intestine, increasing their sociability, increase their intuition. So that's going to raise that. But if you already like, who's the Wrecking Ball song? Is it Miley Cyrus?
Yeah.
You beat, that's a lot, right? You're going to have some kind of heart issues, and you're going to have to see your cardiologist. Yeah, and then so is, right, liver here, with lime, which is sour. Okay, digestion, so on and so forth, right, different tastes. Now, the cycle goes like this. This is the nourishing cycle. So let's say if you say, okay, you know what, I have a heart, I need more heart, I need more fire, I need more celebration, but I hate beets, I hate spicy food, my stomach can't take it. Okay, well, alternatively, let's have you eat a little bit more wood, because wood feeds in the fire, right? So that's kind of the logic. It's very simple.
And then you would want to avoid the water category?
Yep, avoid the water category or spicy category, right? Yep, and then if you eat excess sweet, that's obviously not going to be good either. Okay, so, right, different things. So add wood, right? So things like cherries, dates, sour foods. So what you're looking for is what? You're looking for fire. So fire is what? Red color. What things in life that is designed by your creator, whether it is God, Allah, or, your designer, in the earth, on earth is red, right? Cherries, okay? What else?
Just foods like
Yeah.
apples,
Yeah, beets.
beets, sure. grapes, strawberries,
Strawberries. Yep, strawberries.
raspberries.
Yep. So what if another person says, okay, well, I could just eat grapes then, because grapes comes in all different colors.
Yeah.
So we're going to stick away from the GMO stuff. Try to find the original one and go with that. So idea, strawberry definitely. Not only does it have the heart color, it looks like the shape of the heart too.
Sure.
That's also more important, because although there's no scientific study, but you just have to think about it, right? Why is it that shape? And why is your heart coincidentally kind of shaped like a strawberry? Because it's what meaning kind of gives to life, right? So yeah, so I encourage, for those of you that are watching, whether you're a hardcore scientist or not, right? Question everything. Think about how God designed everything, right? If strawberries look like that, and your heart, why is your heart shaped like that? Why is this thing this color? Why is that thing that color? Right? So this then gets into that. Okay? So if your heart is normal, you can really tolerate anything. It wouldn't faze you very much. So if you have this, then what? We need to put this out, right? With water, type of foods, or earth, right? So this is probably why celebrities always live by the water, right? Too much. And also with feng shui, people say feng shui, oh, I need to live in a place. So feng shui is more than just where do I put my couch to get rich, right? It's actually what element do you have in your body, and what element do you then compensate for what you need to bring you into balance? Because it's believed that if you feel good, you naturally do good. Success is inevitable if you're doing the right things. Right? So then over here, likewise, add food, fire. This one, add water. You want to add water, add some more earth. And this is the 5-element cycle, where we have wood feeding into fire, fire then becomes earth, earth becomes metal, metal becomes water. Okay. What pressure points? For those of you that can't see me for acupuncture because you're far away, these are the different points you can pressure for the heart. And also, remember, if you look up heart symptoms, you can have a whole slew of different issues, right? We're talking about emotional issues, we're talking about sleep, insomnia, we're talking about intuition, talking about how your relationship is with happiness and joy. So these points you can always press. You can press them in groups of 3, 6, or 9. That's the required superstition, because those are good numbers. And then we do.
Do you go by that?
Yeah.
You do. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, from the number of fish to the things we hear, we tend to have 3, 6, and 9. Yeah. This just on a side anecdote. Nikola Tesla, when he goes to different places, he would make it 3. You do it. Look it up on YouTube. He would circle around the building 3 times before he goes into the building. He would do all these things because 3s and 6s and 9s resonate on their own circle, whereas the other 6 numbers or 7 numbers, because 0 counts too, resonates in kind of like 8, and then 3, 6, and 9 is a circle. Yep, and these points here help with the small intestine. All right. Are you having trouble summaring? Okay. You need mental clarity, intuition, if you like to pursue a happiness, which is more satisfaction. If you want a better life experience, come and see me. And thank you very much. That's all. And I also want to acknowledge my team here, Tabitha and Sarah, who works very hard to help me share these knowledge and these gifts with people. I think that the world is changing and is shifting, and is in my sincerest wish to make this world a more enjoyable experience for all.
It feels like a very peaceful place here.
Thanks, Chris. Okay. Well, I mean, we'll do some quick Q&A. Do you want any Q&A on record?
Sure, I'm fine with that.
Okay. What are some questions you have?
I only have a few hundred, so.
All right. Let's do 5 to 10 minutes of it. I try to keep these videos at an hour.
Okay, well, so what you're talking about here, it sounds like, in general, everything that you're saying sounds like a combination of, I think you said before, Taoism, acupuncture itself, and as well as traditional Chinese medicine. Does that capture most of what you're talking about here? And I have a second question, but maybe I'll stop there.
Yes. So you did mention Taoism. That's very funny that you mentioned it. So acupuncture is actually a niche of the Taoist philosophy. For those of you that are interested, if you look up the yin and the yang, to the their first sight is very simple picture, but to me, yin and yang, if I only have so much time to draw a symbol that represents everything, anywhere, at any time, would be the yin and yang symbol, because it is found in all aspects of things. So then it is with that further developed into the theory of acupuncture, the practice of acupuncture, because with different meridians and channels, let's say if someone has a lot of fire, then we either stimulate the earth or we stimulate water. So this person can get more even keel. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. And then how does TCM fit into that as well?
Yep. So TCM stands for Traditional Chinese Medicine. So first we have Taoism. Taoism is a philosophy. Later on, it's been made to a religion, but before that, it was just a philosophy. There are 5 Taoist arts. There is medicine, which is TCM. There is face reading, okay, which is also feng shui, is to distinguish shapes and what shapes mean what and what shapes resonate different energy. So then that's also kind of like a geomancy, and there is a divination, which is an ancient practice of if someone has questions, you roll 3 coins, which actually is this coins. You roll these lucky coins to then find your answer, which is called the I Ching. There is 2 more, which I can't recall right off the bat. Think about it and then I'll tell you. So then within these 5 arts, okay, another one is self-meditation, and then the third one is nourishing life, which is how you eat, how you be, right? Yeah. So then the first one is Chinese medicine, which is TCM. TCM includes herbs, includes massage, includes also acupuncture, and also moxibustion. There's 4 pillars. So it's the Asian bodywork therapy, which is actually includes acupressure, massage, and also, believe it or not, bone setting. So it's now modern day is chiropractic, but back in the day, I think chiropractic was kind of inspired by when people went to China and they saw people resetting bones, and then they, figure something out and then made it very scientific and precise. But before that, that was actually part of Chinese medicine with herbs. And then the principles of herbs is to give you herbs with different tastes and different shapes of the herb that represent different meanings and then indications and energy to give you to restore how you feel. Right? And then we have moxibustion, which is burning of mugwort to help people guide their energy. And then there's acupuncture.
Okay. I have so many more questions.
Okay. So how about we actually save that for
Yeah, that's fine.
our podcast later. So we'll stop for now.
That sounds good.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah.